we were coming back to shoot Life on Mars, and I got a phone call from a friend of mine, director friend of mine called Rob Bowman, who was about to shoot half a pilot for a little show called Castle. And he was asking me if I was available. I said, no, I'm sorry, I can't. I'm doing this other thing. And I didn't know what Castle was, but I thought, kind of like with Grey's Anatomy, I thought, that'll never be a hit.
It's only been on my entire adult life.
Welcome to the podcast, where we introduce you to incredible humans who share their journeys with the mission to inspire you to harness your own inner tenacity to drive your life and career forward. And now, your host, Adam Posner.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the podcast live. Today is Thursday, the 16th of November. I can't believe we're even here, but let me welcome my guest. Let's bring him on, Mr. Jason O'Mara. Jason, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And for everybody who's not familiar, my guest today on the podcast is Jason O'Mara. Jason is an Irish actor currently living in LA. And after a period of starting his career in Dublin and then London and working in some of Britain's finest theaters, Jason came to the U.S. to exploit everything here, take all of our money and women. No, I'm just kidding.
Correct.
Correct. You might recognize his younger face from one of my favorite shows of all time, HBO Band of Brothers. Since then, he's become a presence on American and international screens, both big and small. Nominated for 3 IFTA awards in 2023 for Smother, 2018 for Marvel's Agents of the S.H.I.E.L.D., great show, and winning the IFTA for Best Supporting Actor in 2017 for his role in The Siege of Jadotville. I've not seen that one. I think I need to. What's that one?
That's an interesting. Yeah, that's a good one. That's on Netflix, and it's about the only foreign Irish conflict in the 20th century in the Congo. That's an interesting one.
We're going to have to check that out. And for anyone with kids out there or are DC fans, he voices Batman in the original animated movies and Zeus in Netflix's animated hit show Blood of Zeus. He's an ambassador to Movember, something that is near and dear to my heart, and I'll get that into in a little bit. And we're going to talk about his own journeys through mental health and sobriety. So let's get into it. Oh, wait a minute. I hear you have a new movie out. What's that all about? Your Lucky Day is out. It came out last week in theaters and on digital. We're going to get into that. Jason, officially, welcome to the podcast, sir.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you for that introduction. Wow, that was almost embarrassing with the plaudits you were laying on me. Thank you.
I don't think that gets old. All right, so before I get into your history, there's a question that I need to ask you. So do you watch Yellowstone?
I know of Yellowstone. I find it hard to watch because there was a part on it I really wanted and I didn't get. This is the problem with actors, you see. We can't watch the things that we didn't get jobs in. Well, some of us. And sometimes I'm in a generous mood and I'm like, yeah, I'll watch your show, even though I'm not a part of it. But yes, I know Yellowstone. Sorry.
So one of our there's two characters in there that we love, Rip and Beth, and I found out that Beth is an Australian actress, and it got my wife and I to talking. Why do so many actors and actresses from outside of the States come over here and they do these American accents? Do we not have enough good actors here in the States?
You'd think. I mean, I think you do, but there seems to be some sort of supply-demand thing, some sort of vacuum that we're able to fill. I don't know what it is. I remember 20 years ago coming over when I first came over, and casting directors would say things like, we like Irish and Australian actors because they bring this kind of sense that they've lived. And I think their concern at the time, and I don't think it's that case anymore, was that there were some American actors and actresses who were too kind of maybe mollycoddled, or to, I suppose you could put it down to air conditioning, too much air conditioning.
Much air conditioning.
And so we had a kind of more of an outdoorsy, edgier feel, maybe. But I don't think that's true anymore.
Is it hard to turn the American accent on, or are you turning certain elements of your accent off? How does that work from a technical perspective?
It's definitely something. Well, look, my accent has morphed over the years because I lived in London, for 8 years before I came to the States. And then when I was in the States, I lived on the East Coast for 8 years and so on. So my accent's all over the place. But no, it's definitely, I mean, if I'm doing an American accent for a character, it's definitely something deliberate, and oftentimes I'll have to break down the vowels and the consonants, and through repetition and drilling, get the sound right. So you kind of have to start at the beginning.
So talk us through, because I don't even have this written down, but I'm curious. Get us to the point of your voice now to Batman.
To Batman. Well, first of all, from my voice to Batman. That sounds like a good
reality
talk.
show.
Yeah,
that's your TED Talk. Welcome to Jason O'Mara's TED Talk.
That's right. Yeah. So, well, first of all, there are certain sounds that you have to be careful of with an Irish accent in particular, and every accent has its pitfalls. But an Irish accent's quite light on L's, so we say light and million and flirt, whereas Americans will say flirt, million, light. So it's a darker L. It happens at the back of the mouth. So that's one word actually I have problems with. So you guys say million, right? Million? Million. 1 million listeners. $1 million. $1 million. Yeah.
Well,
we would say $1 million. So it's the L is lighter. So you have to kind of look out for things. Also, sometimes we have like a sibilant T, like light, bright, fight, and so we have to put usually a glottal stop on that. So fight, light, height, bright. And so it's things like that.
This to it.
Yeah, exactly. Also use, like we go under, blood,
under.
That kind of sound. So we have to open those up, like blood, under, they're more of an open vowel sound. So obviously there's loads more, but I would have to, for Batman, I would have to take all of that and then sort of bring it down to quite a narrow vocal range, because Batman, when he's Bruce Wayne, he has a wider kind of a range, but as Batman, it's pretty narrow. It's very direct. It's usually very short, So it's, I'm Batman.
It's punchy.
Robin, wait, Lantern. Come to the Batcave.
Come to the Batcave.
I can go on.
No, I absolutely love it. So let me ask you this, and you've talked about it obviously a lot in your interviews, but where your passion for acting came. But when it comes to voices, did you pick up any of that growing up as a lover of Star Wars and some of the Kubrick movies?
Yeah, in fact, I used to sort of as a child, once I figured out how to record onto tape, like magnetic tape, audio tape, I would act out scenes from Star Wars myself, doing all the voices and all the sounds. And when I was playing with my Star Wars figures, I would act out entire plays and movies. And then with my son, I would do that also with his toys and him. He always got a kick out of that. And one of the things we would play is Batman. And so when I got the actual, and I was highly influenced, obviously, by Kevin Conroy. And so when I got an opportunity to play the role, it was literally like, oh my gosh, what a wonderful crossover where I bring my dad into this Batman, role. And what sets my Batman apart is that he's a father to Damien. So it was this fantastic sort of fusion of life and art, and it all comes full circle. But let's talk about where it started. And people have this conception of a struggling actor out there. What was your journey like, and paying your dues, and all these kind of gigs here and there, and wacky commercials? Tell us your journey. Well, I played a waiter. My first job in London when I moved there, I played a waiter, so I didn't have to be one in real life. That's a good idea. So that was kind of the first theater job I took, so that I could make ends meet. It wasn't a great role, but then I also did the crossword results hotlines for £5 an hour. I'm not familiar with that over here. Well, in the 90s, you might like a help desk for crosswords. Is that what it was? In the newspaper, they would publish the crossword, right? And for the answers, you would have to call a number, and on the number would be a guy going, "Hello and welcome to the Daily Whatever Express results hotline. Here is the answers for all of the down clues. 1, zebra, Z-A-B-R-A, whatever." So all day, all day. I would do that all day, and I would come away with whatever 50 quid for the day, and I was very happy.
You were happy with that. So what was your breakout role?
Well, I did a season of plays in Harrogate Theatre, which was followed by a BBC series called Berkeley Square, which I did with my good friend Victoria Smurfit. We met on that, and she's an actress, and we've been friends ever since. And that was, I think that was probably my first leading role on TV. I was very nervous for the audition. I thought, I'm going to blow this with my nerves, but I managed to just hold it together. And it was one of many series that I would do that wouldn't be picked up and go to a second season, but it was just enough to kind of get my foot on the rung of the ladder.
Let's talk about the struggles. What's one of those gigs that you kind of hope just stays in the archives, buried somewhere? Was it a commercial? Was it some weird kind of amateur adult film kind of stuff? But I mean, you got the mustache now, and for everyone out there, that is not a porn stash. That is from Movember. We're going to get into that in a minute. I'm doing mine a little bit differently. Right. We'll get into it. I got it going on, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
Everyone has those roles. I did it for money. I did it for the money.
Yeah. I could argue that I've done loads of those, and I should be more ashamed of them. But I suppose there are a few that really underperformed. Like I did a movie called One for the Money with Katherine Heigl, and like the critics hated it. It's one of the lowest movies on Rotten Tomatoes.
Is that because of the actual movie itself, or for the reputation that Katherine has? And please tell us.
I have no idea, and I'm not going to say anything about that. But I really think they were a little harsh on it. It was a cute movie, and some people have seen it and actually really enjoyed it. So I don't think the critics were entirely right with that one. So no, I'm not completely ashamed of that. I did an episode of Criminal Minds once, and looking back, maybe we shouldn't have done that one.
Were you just the dead person under the sheet? Did you die in that movie?
Worse. No, it's a lot worse, Adam. Keep going.
You did something. You were the killer. What did you do in that? It
involved sex.
Yeah.
With dead people.
Oh, a little. Yeah. Yeah. We're gonna leave that one there. You're
asking the questions. I'm giving you the answers.
I am. Wait. So let me ask you a question. You've died in movies and shows before, right? Mm-hmm. How do they coach you? How does that process even work? I'm trying not to be morbid now, but while we're on necrophilia, let's just get into it. How do you? It took me like a minute or two to remember that big word from my dictionary.
It's a good word.
I mean, what's that process like?
What's what process like?
Dying on film. I'm asking all the questions I've always wanted to ask. It's nothing even I've written down here. Nothing I've written down.
First of all, I actually a good death on film. There's nothing better. Like it's one of the great things to do as an actor. I had a glorious death as the Patriot in Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and everyone's the whole cast is crying and everyone at home watching is crying and you're just like, yes, this is fantastic.
Jeez.
But other than that, it's kind of, I tell you what, it's a lot easier to die on film and television than it is to die on stage because, you heard that expression corpsing?
No, I have not. Please elaborate.
So corpsing is a theater expression, and it's what happens when you start laughing uncontrollably on the stage, right? No. And it's like when you're...
Oh, no. And you have to hold it in.
Stuff.
Yeah. Like a mouth fart. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. And you're like, oh God, I can't laugh now, but I have to laugh. Well, that term comes from dead people on stage starting to laugh, and you can see the bodies kind of, vibrating, laughing. They're corpses, but they're not. So it's called corpsing, right? So that's probably harder to die on a theater stage, especially deep into a run and stay absolutely still without laughing is way harder than doing it once or twice on film and TV. The problem with film and TV is, once you're dead, you sometimes have to lie there for days while the rest of the cast come along and inspect the body and the blood splatters.
There's a lot going on.
You're just lying there dead for Days.
All right. Can someone give me a water while I'm lying down here?
Oh yeah.
Getting a little parched.
And I need to check my emails.
There's no bathroom breaks on that. So thank you for giving us a little inside the actor's studio on that one. Before I get to the current work that you're doing right now in Movember, is there what's the role that got away from you? A big one. Maybe it was a big one. Like, did you lose to Kevin Costner and something? Like, what? I'm still on a Yellowstone kick. Sorry.
Kevin Costner wouldn't be one of my competitors.
Not in the right age bracket on that one.
No, not quite. Okay, so I was in summer of 2009. I was about to start shooting a series called Life on Mars with Harvey Keitel, and it was a remake of a BBC version, which was also we were also reshooting a pilot that we'd done with David E. Kelly and Tommy Schlamme the previous year, and it was interrupted by the writer's strike in 2007. And we were coming back to shoot Life on Mars, and I got a phone call from a director friend of mine called Rob Bowman, who was about to shoot a presentation, which is half a pilot, for a little show called Castle. And he was asking me if I was available. And I said, no, I'm about to shoot Life on Mars. I'm sorry. I hope I'm not betraying Rob here. But anyway, I said, no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I can't. I'm doing this other thing. And I didn't know what Castle was, but I thought, kind of like with Grey's Anatomy, I thought, that'll never be a hit.
It's only been on my entire adult life, right? Yeah.
So I was unavailable. And guess what? The right guy did it in the end, Nathan Fillion, and it ran for years, and they had huge success, and good for them, Adam.
Absolutely. And I got to ask you about Band of Brothers too. You're only in a handful of episodes. But what was that?
The first two.
I mean, the ensemble cast was for the entire series, but that was quite a production. Did you know what you were getting yourself into, that would be such an iconic, I put that up there in my top 10 of all time shows. Did you know at the time from reading the script and the treatment and everything?
It was one of those rare things that, because usually you'll start a film or television project and you'll hope that it will turn out great, or that somehow along the way, you'll all figure it out and it'll be special. That one was special from the very beginning. It was special even when they were auditioning. There's a really good podcast actually called Dead Eyes about one actor's experience during the casting process of Band of Brothers, and it was different and difficult for all of us in different ways. But it was special even then. Everybody wanted to be a part of it. And then when we were shooting it on set, we realized how important it was. We had the C-47s there. We had the big map of Normandy. With excellent young actors, like probably some of the greatest actors.
Damian Lewis, Ron Livingston, Michael Fassbender, David Schwimmer, young Tom Hardy, Simon Pegg, just to name a few. I mean, that was a cast.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was a crazy cast. But everybody, it was weird. It was like we knew it was going to be important even when we were making it. And there was a level of commitment that I think got a sort of career best performance from all of these guys. And it's no wonder that it started so many of their careers, kickstarted so many of them. And I suppose including mine, even though I had a relatively small part, I realized that some of those guys were on that for months and didn't have a huge amount of lines in the end when all was said and done. And I had this great speech, at the beginning about D-Day and everything. So it was a really special experience. I came in, I was done in a couple of weeks, but I was told by the webbing guys, they're the guys that do all the sort of the military, the webbing, the pockets and the props and the, ammunition and everything, that there was going to be a memorial established for the plane that my character went down in Stick 66 over Normandy. And I went to this, just on my own bat, at my own cost, I went to this memorial service in a small church in a little town in France called Bouzeville-en-Plain. And afterwards, these paratroopers came, a squad of paratroopers came, and they raised the flag and they unveiled this memorial, which was beautiful. And then this Belgian company called the Force Landing Association, an amateur company, took me into a field and told me this is where the plane burned for 2 weeks. And there's a small patch of grass, or a small patch of sort of darkness that grass still doesn't grow on in one corner since that day. Wow. And they showed me something they'd found with their metal detectors. It was a ring and my character's name was Thomas Meehan, and the initials TM were inscribed on the inside of the ring, and they showed it to me. And I was like, I'm holding this guy's ring in my hand. That's what it meant to everybody. We were playing real people who really lived, really died as heroes. And that really brought it home. By the way, they couldn't find enough family. These guys died so young that often their families were never really truly established. So a lot of these personal effects go into a museum, and you can see that ring in the D-Day Museum in France.
I certainly appreciate you sharing that story. That's so meaningful when it comes full circle, and you're acting a role that's based on reality and where people actually died. It's fascinating. So switching.
And do you know? Sorry, before you
please.
move on, we still meet up every year as a reunion. The cast, we still do it.
Oh wow! I'd love to be a fly on that wall.
We celebrated 20 years since it came out last year. We went to the World War II Museum in New Orleans and had like a 3-day celebration. It was fantastic. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge Damian Lewis fan. I'm a big fan of Billions, and I know when he went through a lot personally in the last couple of years, and just good to see him come back. And I've heard great things about him in the industry as well. Gentlemen across the nation, I have an urgent message for you. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by MANSCAPED. The brand that took your balls to space is now launching them to the ultrasphere. Introducing the Lawn Mower 5.0 Ultra, featuring a new cutting-edge design and next-generation dual SkinSafe Blade Heads for different shaves. It's pretty much a spaceship to take your boys downstairs to the next level. Join the 9 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with the brand new Lawn Mower 5.0 Ultra by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping when you use the code POZCAST, POZCAST. High tech for low places, that's Manscaped. And I got to tell you, since I got my hands on this pair of trimmers, my life downstairs has changed. My wife loves it, if you know what I mean. But let me tell you, this has made it so much easier to take care of what I need to do downstairs. You know what? Take it on the go. Manscaped has you covered. This puppy comes with a travel case and even a travel lock to avoid any accidental powering on or weird looks in the airport. Guys, check this out. Go to manscaped.com, get 20% off when you use the code POZCAST, plus free shipping. I'm telling you, your balls have been through enough. It's time to go ultra with Manscaped. Check it out. So switching gears, new movie, Your Lucky Day, released about a week ago. What's it all about? Because I think the premise is fantastic. It could be real. It could be real.
It could be real. It's like, well, I suppose the tagline is what would you do for $156 million? But yeah, that the pitch is basically, the pitch is basically, a guy wins a $156 million lottery ticket in the store. There's a handful of people in the store. One of them decides to, he's a small time drug dealer, that he's going to take it. But there's a young cop in the bathroom, and he comes out, and a firefight happens. Somebody dies. Actually, a couple of people get hit, and it's like, what do we do now? Do we lock the doors and try to figure this out between us? Do we call the cops? Do we do the right thing, or do we make a deal? So it's kind of interesting. You'd hope that you would do the right thing in that situation,
but you don't know.
Well. Yeah,
I mean, you don't know what you would
changes.
Do. Right, everything changes
when you've got a gun pointed at you,
right? and a shit ton of money in front of you. A lot could change there. How do you feel about the finished product and people's reception to it?
Well, I'm absolutely overjoyed because with something like that, it was very low budget. Somebody made a joke. Actually, Luke Barnett, one of the producers, made a joke that we were in the Apple charts. I think we were at 8, and we were just behind Oppenheimer. And he said that we're coming for you.
Let's do it
on the same budget you had for your coffee on Oppenheimer. We made our movie, so it's that kind of it was low budget. But Dan Brown, this director, I watched his short films before I committed to doing it because there was no money or anything. This was a passion thing, and it was so good. Like, he's so talented. I knew something good would come of it, but I had no idea it was going to turn out as well as it did. And It's been playing at packed houses over the weekend in the Alamo Draft House theaters all over the country, and now it's on Apple, and you can watch it video on demand on any of them, and it's doing really well. So yeah.
And crazy. I'm a terrible journalist because we're actually not watching until tomorrow night. But I said, you know what? I've watched enough of the trailers to get it. That's on my Friday night TV. But let's talk about the lead in the film, the late Angus Cloud. Best known for his role in Euphoria. We're getting a bunch of comments here in the notes, but a bunch of comments from the crowd here. What was it like working with him? Tell us about your experience. Tell us some fun thoughts.
Well, he was just the sweetest kid, like just unbelievably sweet. I didn't know what to expect after watching. I was a fan of Euphoria, still am. Mm-hmm. I think it was a great show, and I thought he was always fantastic in it. And you had a feeling that he was right on the edge of real stardom, because he had something about him, didn't he? He had this, what would the French say? Je ne sais quoi.
Je ne sais quoi. See, I could do that.
It thing. Yeah, there you go. No, he had this X factor, right? And he also, when you meet him, you kind of go, oh, I get it now. He's also really, really sweet. So he's incredibly talented. His star's on the rise, and he's a lovely, kind human being. So that makes it all the more tragic, obviously. But, the first conversation I had with him, he's like, oh, you're Irish. He was like, oh, I've got family in Balbriggan and Offaly, and I can't wait to go back to Ireland. I'd love to go back and live there one day. And he really meant it, and he really did have real, a lot of people go, a lot of Irish Americans go, oh yeah, Ireland, I've got
real family.
My grandmother was from there, or, I have to go there one day. But this guy Angus had real connections there. And he really set the tone for the work. He made it real. He made it natural. He kept the stakes high. He really, it was. He was definitely number one on that call sheet for. Actually, the movie takes a funny turn, so I don't want to give anything away.
We're not going to give it away.
No, but he's just. The whole thing is just tragic, Adam. What can I say? Like so, it's needless and tragic.
As someone who yourself has embraced sobriety, were there any signs? Did you see things? Were there indicators that something was wrong at that time? Not really. I mean, I've met, you meet emotionally fragile people, and you don't think they're going to end up not surviving. Sometimes sometimes it comes down to anything, like just luck or fate or things like that. But I suppose there was something emotionally fragile about him. If you really looked into his eyes and the way he talked, and he was a very gentle, sensitive person, and it's the gentle, sensitive souls who seem to be more susceptible to addiction and dealing with real challenges in their lives. So I don't know the full. There's out of respect for his family, of course,
who have not fully decided on the cause of death. I'm not going to posit on that. Or I'm not going to take any swipes, but it's certainly drug related. Yeah.
So with that being said, what advice would you give to anyone? I mean, young. Let's talk about the folks in the acting industry, which is incredibly stressful to begin with. Plus the whole process of getting into a character, especially if you're a method actor and you're really deep in it too, and you're also struggling with whether it be substance abuse or mental health issues. I mean, what could allies do to keep an eye on their friends and family?
Well, look, I mean, I think we have to kind of rewind this and go back to real basics, and obviously this is something we're trying to do with Movember, right? There's the main thrust of the message is to communicate, is to start talking, is to reach out, is to start the process of processing, to get this stuff moving, to talk about real things, to develop deeper relationships. Do you want to get into the Movember stuff now?
Yeah, let's get into Movember. And for folks that you were leading the transition in there, I was going with it. I was lubing it up. first and foremost, since 2015, that's when I joined Movember, and I'll talk about my affiliation in a moment and my reason behind
Me too.
Movember.
2015. Yeah.
2015. So for folks out there who are not familiar, please, as one of the core brand ambassadors, tell everyone what Movember is all about, what the movement is.
Well, like I said, I've been part of it since 2015. It's the leading global charity changing the face of men's health. I'm passionate about the organization's mission and message. I think the aspect of it I'm most passionate about is that look, 4 out of 5 suicides are men, and every suicide is a tragedy that affects hundreds of people, families, communities around them. And I think Movember does a great job around mental health and suicide prevention. They let guys know that being vulnerable is a superpower, and becoming a man of more words can save lives. So I try to raise awareness every year. I try to encourage people to donate at Movember.com, become a Mo Bro, become a Mo Sister. It's what the mustache is all about. It creates a talking point and gets people to. This is really about trying to save lives. And,
absolutely.
And get the process sort of moving, the communication, get guys to start talking about their bodies and their minds.
Right. And correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, it started primarily focused on cancer, right? It started on men's health issues and then it with mental health. And I'll talk about my journey here in a moment. Let's see if I could switch the screen here. Nope, I can't do that there. Let's do it this way. Behind me, you can't really see it too well. It's not really showing. I don't know why that's not working.
Congratulations.
Yes,
Lynn
congratulations.
Institute.
This is my dad's remission certificate in 2015, diagnosed with prostate cancer, went through the treatment and has been in remission since 2015. So this was a cause that was near and dear to me, something that I knew I needed to participate in. First for myself, someone who's getting older, has kids, and I need to just tell all my friends out there, I get screened, get checked, get everything every year. Colon cancer, prostate cancer, get a full panel of checks. Don't neglect your body, not for you, but for your family. Like, don't you want to be here in your best health for your kids and the people that love you and your friends and family once a year? And now they have such less invasive checks. I did the screen last week at my annual physical. It's a blood test. They don't even need to do the old "how you doing."
Really? I keep going for the old "how you doing." I mean,
yes, people pay extra, but that's
I'm old school.
Jason, you don't have to go 4 times a year for that. It's okay. It's.
I gotta wrap this up. I got another appointment coming up here in a few minutes.
Exactly, Jason. You also talk about your self-care routine. Let's talk a little bit about your self-care.
Yes, and by the way, just to add on to that, 2015 was also the previous year I lost my stepfather to stomach cancer. So I think that's part of it too. So I do completely hear you on that. And with my own journey, and I think that's why Movember speaks to me so much. It's like, obviously there's the cancer part, but also the mental health part. I'm Irish, so I drank a lot, and I was brought up sort of Irish Catholic, and we all kind of drank a lot. All my friends, everyone I knew.
It's what you did growing up.
Yeah, it's what we did, and but by the age of, my father got sober when I was about 17. Obviously, never forget that. And then I decided I needed help at the age of 22, and my father brought me to my first meeting, and that kind of began this journey, that I've been on ever since. And obviously, it saved my life, and I, opened the door to all kinds of ways, techniques, methods, practices that I would later employ kind of by fusing them all together into a sort of a daily routine that continues to make my life better and happier and more joyful. And so that's really what it is. It's a journey, it's a journey. It's not a destination, but it's something I couldn't have done if I'd kept drinking and using,
Well, kudos to you. And I'm curious, you said your dad sobered up when you were 17.
Yeah.
How much of that of his personality and who he was changed for the better and for the worse? I'm always curious too, because some people are happy drunks, some people are angry drunks. I mean, what was that like? If you don't mind sharing a bit personal, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no, he was very quiet for the first year, and while he did exactly that, sobered up, and then he changed profoundly. And he meditates every day,
wow,
twice a day for the last 30 years, maybe 25 years. So he's become a huge benign force in my life,
That's fantastic.
and we didn't always get along, and we still have moments now because we're both human, but it's given me the opportunity to have this amazing sort of relationship with him that I never thought I would have. Because when I was in college and drinking, man, all we did was fight. All we did was fight, and it was making me miserable. But through sobriety, we have this connection now, which is amazing.
That's incredible. And one of the big parts of sobriety, obviously, the big part is saying no and saying no to temptation, saying no to other pressures that are out there. How did you learn the power of saying no?
Well, it's I suppose.
Sure, it's a lot of trial and error.
Yeah, but I'm not big on willpower, Adam. Like I don't have it, And I know on your podcast you have a lot of extremely successful people who seem to have just willed and manifested success into their lives, and I really admire that because I don't have much of that. But so I had to call on sort of another power. I have a higher power in my life who I'm able to hand stuff over to. Anything I can't handle, I just let it go and hand it over. And through that, kind of strangely, ironically, I do have some power, So it's until I found that, I kind of struggled. And not everyone can find that, and I'm not, listen, I'm a spiritual person. I'm not a particularly religious person. What do they say? Religion is for people who want to avoid hell, and spirituality is for those who have already been there. Something like that.
I like that one. That's a new one. I like that.
Yeah. So I don't, I have no opinion on religion or even God, but I just have this relationship with something inside me, my higher self, my deeper self. I think David Lynch calls it the unified field. You can go the science route, but you could also go the more spiritual route where there's something, call it your soul, something that connects you to the universe. And that's it for me.
I love it. And these conversations remind me of the conversation I had with Kevin Smith, a great actor and director, Kevin Smith, New Jersey native Kevin Smith. And we talked about one of my favorite movies of his, Dogma, starring George Carlin, my comedic hero, as a priest. And I asked Kevin Smith, what was that interaction like with George Carlin? He said, George Carlin absolved him of religion. And I was like, whoa, okay, now we got to get into this one. So I went down a rabbit hole of religion with Kevin Smith. And afterwards, he said he never talked about that ever on any interview. And it was like, whoa, okay. I hit a nerve there. So switching gears a little bit, we only have a few minutes left. Let's talk about the power of no with the SAG strike. Right? You have a hard stop at 2, right? Yeah. Sorry. I'll get you there. The SAG strike just ended. Congratulations. First of all, talk for industry, for people out there. Let's talk about your side. And people like, oh, these fucking actors are making all this money. What are they bitching about? Yeah, and like, no. That's not what it's about. I'd love to hear a perspective from an actual actor in SAG. Sure. Yeah. Well, look, I suppose the number one thing that we were striking for, and I suppose the writers were striking for as well, is residuals. When the writers did a deal in 2007, they kind of sidebarred residuals on new media, and so SAG did the same at around the same time. And what happened was new media became everything we now know is streaming, right? Netflix, Apple, Amazon, Hulu, all the things, Disney Plus, everything. It's not even the future. It's what it is. It's what it is. Now. It's what it is. It's like, I mean, who still has a cable subscription? I don't, but okay, you do. Like for live sports, but I got to get rid of it anyway. Sorry. Maybe not forever, but so the everything has changed. Everything we know about broadcast television has changed, and we'd kind of kicked that can down the road with that because
we didn't really have proper residuals agreed upon for anything that was new media, which was all of this. And by the way, I think that because of that loophole, that's exactly why it was exploited, and that's exactly why we have streaming. But that's just a personal.
Right. And think about, right, all these old shows are just pumping back out on. I mean, look at Suits, for example. The show was mediocre on back when it aired. Right. Sorry. I watched it. Right. It's fine. But then all of a sudden during the strike, they put it back up there. And it's almost like, I don't know what the relationship is from a residuals, but they're pumping it and millions of people are watching it. It's important. For to get paid.
Yeah, exactly. So we were striking for residuals with all the new media stuff. All the streaming stuff. And then the other thing, and there was a couple other things too, but the other big one was AI, right?
That's what I wanted to talk about.
If anything is going to affect AI, it's actors and anyone in performance.
And you're around the technology of it. Like, I mean, you've been involved in productions with deep CGI and like the ability to deepfake, replicate voices and literally take your face and your voice and use technology. They could basically script the whole movie with just 1 minute of your time. Yeah.
So it was all about kind of ownership, trying to figure out like how to give permission, how to get paid for this stuff, who owns it, who can use it, how long can they use it for, all of that, which is very complicated because all of this language is being created for the first time. And I think the negotiating committee, yeah, absolutely. I think they did a great job. But there's some serious tire kicking going on right now at this moment, going like, hey, are we sure we have this all buttoned up? Because we know from 2007 that the very loophole we leave is exactly what will be exploited. So do we have this all buttoned up? Are we really good to go on the AI thing? Because it really is something that could change everything for actors forever.
So what was the resolution on the AI part for everyone out there who's not following note by note?
Well, I mean, we're trying to ratify the contract so that we can all go back to work and approve it. But there are some people saying the AI stuff needs more work. Then there's yet more people saying if we go back, we could end up with a worse deal, and we might have to go back on strike again. So it's not quite over yet. I have a feeling we'll probably ratify this. But I think there's going to have to be serious consideration given to the AI aspect for, again, soon. Like, I don't think we can let this go because we don't fully understand it yet. So how can we fully create the guardrail?
No, it's a tough one. It's basically building the airplane as you fly because the technology is moving so fast. So I appreciate you sharing that perspective. I'm going to wrap it up here. I'm going to bring it home with a couple of questions. But before I do, share with us what's one of the craziest stories you've had on set? Give us a quick little snippet before we wrap it up.
Crazy story.
That's a crazy story.
Oh man, I'm not very good with.
I'll give you some context. It could be equipment failure related. The category is equipment failure related.
Oh God. Okay.
Maybe a wardrobe malfunction.
Well, you certainly have to always be very careful of what you say because you have a radio mic on, right? So. You have to be really careful. Yeah. What else? Oh God, there was a couple of moments actually. I was doing the show called Vegas with Dennis Quaid and Michael Chiklis.
I remember that show. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was driving an old.
I love Chiklis. The commish was excellent. Yeah. And what was the Dirty Cop one that I love? The Shield, right? The Shield.
Yeah.
The Shield is epic television, and the commish was great too.
Amazing.
Chiklis? What's Chiklis doing these days? That guy's great.
I just had a new movie come out called The Senior about an aging football player. He never stops, Chicky. He's always working.
Seems like a good guy. Seems like it would be a good guy.
He's great. Yeah. He's great fun. Loves a chat and a joke. So I was driving a pickup, an old pickup truck from like 1960 when it was set, and we were like hightailing it out of a house, I think, in a driveway, and I had one of the actors, Taylor, with me in the car, and we came around, and as I said, I was like really booking it. We came around, the camera truck was right in front of us, and there was no way I was going to be able to stop in time, and it was a small, and I just passed it like by half an inch.
Near miss.
And Really, really scary. Like we didn't report it. It wasn't an incident, but it was so close to being like a big effing deal that, shit like that can happen. And no matter how you allow for it on set, like stuff can happen, accidents can happen.
It's dangerous.
Yeah, it is. But I'm sorry, that's the best I can do.
All right, that's good. What are you watching on TV these days?
I am watching The Fall of the House of Usher.
We just finished that. It is
okay.
So
I'm only
good.
halfway through. Tell me.
I'm not giving it away. And the other one we just finished is the miniseries, All the Light We Cannot See, based on the book.
Yes, I want to see that too. Full disclosure: Kate Siegel and Mike Flanagan on Full of House of Usher are friends of mine. So they're amazing.
Please tell them personally that Adam said you guys did a great job. We love Adam and Alona. Love the show. Thank you. I appreciate that. Let's bring it home here, Jason. Jason, I ask all my guests this question over 302 episodes of the show. Jason O'Mara, what is the single greatest piece of advice you've ever received that you take action on every day?
Can I do two?
Please do 12.
Okay. The first one is show up. And I know it sounds really simple, but it means, or you can also add suit up and show up. And it means that you have to get up, you have to get dressed, and you have to show up for either yourself, who's the most important person to show up for, you, and everyone else in your life. So showing up on a daily basis is huge. It compels you to make connections with people and to be there in person. Anytime I've been, my mental health hasn't been right, or back when I was drinking, the last thing I wanted to do was show up. I didn't show up. I locked the doors, I pulled the curtains, and I sat in darkness, and I didn't want to interact. So I know when I'm isolating that I need to show up. So that's a simple one. The other one was something Harvey Keitel gave me. I remember talking to him about how nervous I was about how the show was going to be received, and the critics, and under pressure from the network and all these people that thought I couldn't do it. And he looked me in the eye and he said, just do the work. And that stayed with me, because all the other stuff is noise. Like all that anxiety, all of that fear is noise. It's your head. Doesn't have anything to do with the facts. And all it will do is prevent you from doing the work. So just do the work.
That is sound advice. And Jason O'Mara, last but not least, you look back on your life and you look at those hard times, struggling with sobriety, young actor coming up, trying to make a name for yourself, all those tough times. And you had to pull yourself up and harness that inner tenacity that you have, that fire. And in the same breath now, gratitude for his family, this life, this career that you've built, the relationship with your dad, with your family. What is your beacon? What is your compass? Jason O'Mara, what is your North Star in life?
Well, I think without hesitation, my higher power is what guides me. And in order to listen to that, I have to be quiet. So daily meditation is the prescription for that. And through quietness, I hear that voice. Through silence, I hear that benign, loving voice. So it's definitely my higher power. But pretty close behind is my son David, who I just adore, and I show up for him. He shows up for me, and he's doing film school right now down in Chapman University down in Orange at the Dodge College Film School. He's doing the director's program, and I'm very proud of him. So yeah, he's up there too.
Awesome. Well, Jason, I want to thank you so much for joining me for the past hour, my audience here. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Everyone out there, check out Your Lucky Day, which is out now in select theaters and digital. And please, please, please support Movember. If you see us dudes with the stash that don't usually have a stash, it's probably for November, and ask us about it. And you can get involved. It's not too late at Movember.com, Movember. Jason, I want to thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. For everyone else out there, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. If you love the show, leave a review rating. It goes a long way. Find out more at thepodcast.com. Remember, be good to yourself, be better to others, and catch us next week for another great episode of the podcast. Take care, everybody. Thanks, Jason.
Thanks, Adam. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Hey, everybody. I want to talk about a product and platform that I absolutely love, and our latest sponsor, Interseller, the prospecting and outreach platform of choice for recruiters and sellers. Whether you're doubling down on business development or recruiting talent, Interstellar does all the heavy lifting of finding contact data, automating the email and follow-up process, and syncs all that rich data into 20-plus CRM and ATS platforms. Reach out now and get going on a 2-week free trial and let them know you heard about it from Adam on the podcast today. Check out the link on the website. Appreciate it.
Wisdom is forever, but for us, it's time to go. Thank you for joining us. Luckily, we'll be back with our next episode soon, jam-packed with more incredible humans. Thank you for listening, subscribing, and sharing. To join the conversation, search the podcast on LinkedIn. And to catch up on past episodes and more info, please visit www.thepodcast.com.